The BLS comes out with their jobs report showing 177,000 new jobs created in April, yet they go back and revise the last 2 months down by 58,000. On top of that, rates cannot seem to stay below 6.7 or 6.8%. We have tariffs. Are we going to get deals with India and the European Union and some of these other nations? Who knows? Right now, there is so much conflicting data. I don't know what to believe. So what do we believe? As that song says, what a fool believes. And there is so much contradictory information. I mean, I've been lending for 23 years. I've watched a lot of ups and downs in the markets. And even though this is not a massive decline, it is probably the most amount of confusion I've seen with tariffs, with the Fed, and even with the way they go back and revise these numbers with the BLS. It is very, very confusing to get a kind of to dial in what direction we're headed and what that means. This was an article from Redfin talking about monthly housing costs at an all-time high amid economic uncertainty, keeping buyers on the sidelines. And I wanted to read this for a second because I think this sums up kind of the housing market right now. Mortgage purchase applications are declining and pending home sales are sluggish. The 2025 spring home buying season is lackluster, with record high housing costs and widespread economic instability keeping would-be home buyers at bay. Here's the key. Mortgage purchase applications are down 6% month over month, and Redfin's Homebuyer Demand Index, a measure of tours and other buying service from Redfin's agents, is essentially flat. Pending home sales fell too, declining 2.8% year over year during the 4 weeks ending April 27th. That dip is mainly to a holiday effect. Easter fell into this year's 4-week period, but not in the comparable period in 2024. But even without that effect, pending home sales would likely be flat from a year ago. Sales are sluggish last spring, and they're sluggish again this spring. There are two key reasons a lot of prospective house hunters are staying on the sidelines. One, record high housing costs, right? Median U.S. monthly housing payment is an all-time high at $2,870 due to still rising home prices and elevated mortgage rates and economic uncertainty. Many Americans are holding off on major purchases because they're uncertain about the future of the economy due to things like tariffs and the increasing odds of a recession. And I would add to that, there's a lot of difficult or different ways to get information now. It is difficult to know what is good, what you can trust. There's a lot of political things baked into that information. There are trusted news sources that have completely different takes. There's the wild west of the internet saying different things. So what data should we be looking at and what are the keys? So I believe the market is flat, is likely to feel flat through the rest of the year. And why is that? Because I think rates are going to stay elevated, though I think they will get lower as the year goes on. I think uncertainty definitely goes through the second quarter. Now, could things change very, very quickly? Yes, in two ways. One, if we do ink some massive tariff deals, right, with India or the European Union or between the U.S. and China, then all of a sudden you're going to see the market rip, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. And two, if that all happens and with inflation being lower where it's at, and if you eliminate some of this uncertainty, you might see the Fed all of a sudden talk about cutting rates again. Do I think they're going to cut them massively? No. But do I think we're going to get lower rates throughout the year? Yes. My prediction was 6.25. By the end of the year, I'm still going to stand by that. But right now, we are back up to 6.9%. And again, it really matters about the trend. And look how fast, up, down, up, down, up, down. But we have been circling around the 7% range for so long, really since October of last year. And now we just shot back up just to right under 7%. And that's just a trend that has happened. And until something major changes or breaks one way or the other, then we are not going to see any difference. And I had somebody argue with me on YouTube that I am too bullish on the housing market. And I probably do have that sentiment after doing it for 23 years, because I've seen even after 2008, people build more wealth this way than any other way. But in general, it seems like things typically work out. But is there, a possibility that all of a sudden we get into a longer tariff war with China, the Fed were to really, really just keep rates flat, then that is going to create a flat or softening real estate market. So what does one of these articles say? They say inventory is the key housing metric. Here's what state level inventory is telling us right now. And I really like how this is kind of showing from April of 2019 to today, because April of 2025, where we are at to pre-pandemic real estate levels. So we are up 23% in Florida. And at the end of 2025, 9 states are above pre-pandemic 2019 inventory levels: Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Hawaii, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Washington. And then I thought this was a good list just to kind of break down what all that means. In 2017, nationally, we had 1.2 active listings, or 1.198. And you can kind of see the trend here from April 2018, 19, 20, how low it got in 21, 22, and then it's been on its way up. But we have still nationally not exceeded even where we were at in 2017, 2018, or 2019. And then if we kind of look, if they were to project out, nothing were to change, just on the current trend in 2027, we'd have 1.4 million homes on the market. That is relevant because if we did get to 1.4 million homes, is that a major price correction? In my opinion, no. We still wouldn't be at 8 or 9 months of inventory, depending on how much sales volume there is during that time. But would we get a softer and softer real estate market? Yes, 100%. As the inventory goes up, we are going to get a softer market. What is likely going to change that? In my opinion, we'll see if this plays out. I hate doing predictions because they don't always age well. Personally, I believe Scott Bessent and the current administration will ink some of these deals. I think China and U.S. will work things out because it's in both of our best interests. And I think the Fed will start looking at decreasing the Fed funds rate, which will lower rates. And I think by the end of this year, we're going to be picking up more and more momentum. Will that happen? We'll have to see. And then last thing, I just thought this was interesting. Zillow declares war on the real estate industry. This is a really interesting video. And you may have an opinion on this. This is about Zillow is going to war with Compass and some of these other companies about pocket listings or listings that they're not putting on the market fast enough. And I don't really have an opinion on that, but what I gathered from this after listening to it was you just have to remember Facebook, Instagram, Zillow, whoever, they're not our friends. They're only going to do what's in their best interest. If what Zillow does were to take mortgage originators or real estate off the board, they would do it in a heartbeat to increase their market share. What do you need to do with that information? You should be building a few strong, what I call bridges, and not 8, 9, 10 bridges that are half built, right? Really good with your past clients. Have a good social media presence and also have a way that you are consistently marketing and reaching out to your database. Maybe it means making phone calls. Maybe you have a more creative way, but you better have a system or a daily success plan that you measure yourself to your standard every day. We are going to be doing some classes coming up on how to build a daily success plan, not what I think you should do, but what you think you should do, and how to hold yourself accountable, because that's where the magic's at. So we're going to keep tracking the data, the things that we're going to pay attention to. Do some of these tariff deals come true? Do they get inked, or does China and U.S. continue on this trade war? Will the Fed change their stance on cutting the Fed funds rate? And ultimately, will interest rates fall? And when they do, I think you're going to see inventory really flatten out and start to go the other direction. Anyways, we'll track all that data right here. This is Rayce Robinson, your favorite Florida mortgage broker. Have a great day, great week, and I'll talk to you soon.